Well, hello, folks, and welcome to the Jeff Macolino podcast, a episode I'm very excited for. I'm being joined today by comedian and author of the tremendous book, Running the Light, which I have mentioned dozens of times probably on my podcast already, is Sam Tallent. He also has a special out. I'll link everything. Obviously, I'll talk to him about it. Waiting for Death to Claim Us. Hope you enjoy it. Sam Tallent, I'm a big fan of his comedy, his writing. Thank goodness I just heard about his book on the Doug Stanhope podcast. And, thank goodness I did because I love the book. It's great. I'll talk to him about that. Buy your own copy at samtallent.com. Hey, if you're new to my podcast, subscribe wherever you're watching or listening to this, please. That will help me out a lot. If it's someplace where you can like or rate, like me, give me a thumbs up or rate me 5 stars, whatever. And hopefully you stick around and enjoy future episodes. So not a long intro today. We'll dive right into it. Hope you enjoy it. All right. Now I welcome the great comedian and author, Sam Tallent, to the Jeff Macolino podcast. How are you, Sam?
Jeff, it's a pleasure and an honor to be here with the one and only University of Southern Florida football fan that I've ever met.
There aren't many of us.
No. I mean, it's tough though, because like UCF really fucking caught on. They're a very powerful franchise. I mean, USF is nothing to scoff at for sure. But I don't know if I've met, I mean, who played at USF?
JPP. That's probably the biggest name.
Yeah.
Kayvon Webster, he was with the Broncos for a while.
Yes, he was.
So we've had a few decent NFL players, but JPP is probably the biggest.
Yeah, okay.
It only started in 1996, so it's still like relatively young.
Where are they?
Tampa,
okay. You know what's fucking strange to me, man, is Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina seems to be a CIA psyop because they came out of nowhere and now they're just dominating Mid-Atlantic football.
Yeah, and how'd they get ranked so high in the preseason polls?
I don't know. And also they have like the weakest strength of schedule ever. They're just crushing all these people continually. And they're fun to watch. I remember when they first went D1 and they had that little meatball of a running back. He was probably like 5'6", 250 pounds. And he was just ping-ponging around. He was a fun guy to watch because he looked like a crime against nature.
Those guys are fun in college. They don't ever seem to work out beyond that.
Yeah, it's like, remember Ron Dane with Wisconsin? Every Wisconsin running back is like the greatest collegiate athlete ever. And then they move from Wisconsin where you're allowed to drink 15 beers a night and only eat cheese curds. And they go to the NFL and it's like, oh God, you can't come into camp at 275, Ron Dane.
Yeah, I've always credited it's got to be Wisconsin's offensive line and all the cheese they get to eat.
Oh yeah, the O-lines are always legendary, dude. I mean, it's the same with Iowa when they run the single back. It's like they don't really get a lot of athletes, but they do get a lot of farm-fed big men who also probably wrestled in high school because they're from the Midwest. And God, as a former offensive lineman, wrestling was so good for my footwork.
Yeah, I played football in high school, not very well, not very long, because I got injured time after time.
Sure. Where'd you grow up?
St. Petersburg, Florida. So
right. Oh man, you played football Tampa. In Florida? Jesus, that must have been fucking hellish.
It was hot.
You're playing with men. No, it's just like the football players who come out of the South. They're just like, I don't know if you remember the first time you ever saw like a classmate have pubes. I remember I was in 6th grade. This kid, Chris White, like we were changing for a basketball game and he just like pulled his shorts off and it was full bush. And it's like, oh, you're a man and we're still children. And no wonder you're, going for 20 and 15 every game. I mean, that just has to be high school football in Florida. It's just like the pubeless and the pubed.
Yeah, well, I was so slow that the only place they could play me was defensive line. And I was 135-pound freshman year. And I was going up in practice against guys who weighed 275 and 300.
Yeah, Jeff, that's not fair. That's not a good thing. That's bad coaching.
You wonder why I got hurt.
Yeah, it's a total disregard for a boy's life. That's fucking terrible. Yeah, I mean, D-line, of course, are the dumbest people in any sport. They're pretty much just shrubs. You tell them to go left or right. I mean, it's fun. Nose tackles, they don't get enough love, but like they're just not that smart. And I'll say that here live on your podcast. Defensive tackles probably swallow their tongues more than anyone knows about.
Maybe it says a lot about me. I had the most fun playing nose tackle
Yeah.
even at that weight, because all you had to do was just absorb 2 blocks and try not
Bingo.
to get knocked on your ass.
And I wish I knew that more when I was in high school, because they kept telling us to make plays. And it's like, well, as a nose tackle, your entire job is grab onto whatever jerseys you can get your mitts on. Just hold on. If you can make the team go from 11 to 10, like, you've done your job as a nose tackle.
Yeah, they don't call defensive holding on nose tackles in high school football.
No.
So that was my tactic, was grab onto their jerseys.
And if they do,
the
fucking fix is in, dude. That means Mystical has a kid on the team. I don't know if you ever saw that. There was a great, like, MTV followed around Mystical, and it was like a day in the life of him. And he went to like a middle school football game, and at halftime he pulls the quarterback aside and just shows him a lump of money. Like, they don't have mics on him, or they chose not to use it, but he just shows the kid a lump of money, and then the team proceeds to win by like 35 points. And then Mystical goes up, tucks some money into the kid's shoulder pads. Like, he clearly tried to fix the game.
Jesus.
And that's the kind of gambling I want to get into, is fixing regional middle school football games. I think that's fun.
It's got to be easy to get away with.
Yeah. And also, who's running that book? You know, like, what fucking degenerate is like, oh man, St. Cross is playing fucking Jefferson. We got to get this line down to -13. It's just what a crazy life.
Some kid's alcoholic uncle sits under the bleachers, takes the
game. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's I coach my son's flag football team, his 8U flag football team, and they've always had a super team that has not lost a game, and they have, the closest game they ever had was against my team in the championship game. We had it 10-6 until the last play. I sent an all out and they scored a touchdown, but it's the last play. If we didn't get a pick six, we lost anyway. So
you did the right thing, man. You tried to rattle their mind. That's what you gotta do. What is it? Is it effectively 7-on-7?
It's 5-on-5.
Okay. Yeah. And how do you tell if you can rush the passer? Is it like a 3 Mississippi count?
You have to line up where the I think it's 7 yards back.
Okay.
And you can blitz right on the snap.
Okay.
Otherwise, you can't cross the line of scrimmage until the ball's been handed off or passed.
I see. Is there a lot of running the ball in 5-on-5 flag football?
At 8U level, there is, because kids can't throw and kids can't catch.
Yeah, I remember those days. I remember playing football from 3rd to 6th grade before we got into the school program. My dad was my coach. 3rd grade, we lost every game. 4th, 5th, and 6th, we didn't lose a game except for one, which was hotly contested. And I don't think we threw a forward pass once in those 4 years.
That's actually why my teams tend to be good, is because I just kind of I just cross my fingers and hope the other team's going to throw the ball a lot, because people fall in love with it, but it's just more likely than not you're going to throw interceptions, not completions. They just throw the ball up. But so Sam, I had to ask you to come on the podcast because I've mentioned this book on my podcast. I think this is episode 43.
Okay.
And somebody had told me that I've mentioned this book at least a dozen times in the first 42 episodes.
Jeff, I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
It's just an awesome book. And I heard of it first when Doug Stanhope, I think this is before you even met Stanhope.
Yeah.
He brought it up on his podcast.
Yep, the king, man.
Yeah. No, that's a big fan of his. And, he said it's the most realistic book I've read about stand-up comedy, because there's been a lot of movies and stuff that are, even as someone who's only done open mics, I can tell are really exaggerated and awful.
Oh, yeah.
Not that I've ever traveled the road, but I feel like, well, I'm glad I have children and I'm kind of tied away from doing this.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I could be a very similar character if I was just left out there on the road with no obligations.
Man, if you're a stray dog just on the road, I mean, it's very easy to go feral unless you have like responsibilities. And the guy in my book for sure grew tusks and doesn't know how to get rid of them. He's just a fucking razorback out there in the brush, just trying to take down birds. And it's good that you have people you love and things you like doing besides cocaine and bathroom sex. I think that's an admirable trait in any man. So good for you, dude.
Yeah. No, it's not to say I turn it down, but
yeah, no, you live a big, bold, beautiful life. I understand, but you have your priorities. That's good. Yes. And I don't think Billy Ray ever coached any of his kids' games. You know, I
No,
don't think he attended any of them.
right, exactly. I
Yeah.
doubt he even knew they were in them. But that's
Oh yeah. No, he for sure like probably forgot about his kid's birthday. So he like was at the airport and probably came home with like an Arena Football League jersey and was like, "Hey, I know you're into football. Here you go, kid." And it's like some team that he's never heard of. That's the parenting that Billy Ray would provide.
yeah. One thing I thought was one of the greatest things in the book. And by the way, you wrote this yourself.
Yeah.
The writing is amazing. I mean,
Thanks, man.
You wrote it. I think I'd heard you say, maybe it was on Stanhope's podcast, but you wrote it relatively quickly. It sounded like.
Yeah, I mean, because I've like been asked that question enough that now I think I've whittled it down. I think it's between, I know it wasn't a year. I think it was like 10 months was like the first draft was done in 10 months. And obviously there's an editing process after that, but like having it out of your head and being like, oh, okay, now I can shape it better. I think that process began right around between 8 and 10 months.
And the part I'm going to reread this book. So by the way, don't ask me, friends and family, to borrow this because you can go buy your own at samtallent.com.
Yeah, Tallent. And if you're an audiobook person, you can get it wherever audiobooks are sold as well.
And that's awesome, isn't it? The audiobook has a bunch of different comics on it, right?
It's got 14 different comics. Stanhope reads it. Kinane, Mark Maron. The only complaint that I've heard is Tim Dillon. I guess, Tim Dillon is an incredibly busy man. The fact that he was willing to take time out of his very lucrative schedule to read a chapter is, I'm always indebted to him. But I guess people say that he kind of like stepped on the gas towards the end. And of course he did. I don't know if you've ever had to read something aloud for over an hour, but it's a nightmare. I'd rather like trade in my teeth than have to do that. So thank you, Tim. And if you complain, don't do it publicly. All right. Just DM me, please.
It took everyone about an hour to do theirs. I imagine Bert Kreischer's chapter took about 8.
Oh, dude, God bless him. Bert, he finally figured out how to say the word Tucumcari, which is a city in New Mexico where the first show takes place. And the first thing he says is like Tucumcari. And then he says the name Tucumcari like 6 different ways. And we got them all on tape. But yeah, I mean, everyone makes fun of Bert for not being able to read. And he definitely turned in a very nice performance. So I'm grateful for him. That's the thing about this book, dude, is like Stanhope, he championed it first and then he got it to Kreischer. And then I got on Kreischer's pod and then like, enough steam was built that like, Ari and Mark Maron had me on his podcast. Like it's just been totally organic and it's all just because Stanhope took a like to it because everyone respects Stanhope. It doesn't matter who you are in comedy. You have to know that he's one of the greatest to ever do it. So I just and also now to become his friend is like one of the coolest things to ever happen.
Yeah, and it's touching to see from someone who had a midlife crisis. I'm 34, but I figure the way I live, midlife is fair.
Oh yeah, I'm 34 too, dude.
Oh,
I think it's all borrowed time. I know what you mean.
This is whiskey, and it's 2:14 p.m. Eastern time. So
that's a lot of whiskey, Jeff.
I start with a pint glass.
Okay, good for you.
Yeah, not healthy, but I love, as someone who decided to try to fiddle in the comedy field at a later age than normal, seeing how much support that really everyone gave. I mean,
yeah.
it was kind of touching to see from an outsider's perspective, just like one guy, and Stanhope, I think you're right, has to be there. I know there's certain cliques of comedians who probably don't like the other ones, and I'm sure there's some things that differences between people. Stanhope seems to just kind of be over all of that.
Oh yeah, Stanhope doesn't give a shit about anyone's opinions, which is why he's the greatest. But yeah, I mean, I think that the biggest victory, and I mean, for instance, the audiobook, like Chris Gethard has a very specific fan base, and Chris, an old friend of mine, and he's never been anything but excellent to me. And then I think that Tim Dillon and Ari Shaffir have a very specific fan base. And the fact that Venn diagram loops over and the only thing in the middle is they each read a chapter in my audiobook. Like, I'm very proud of how, across the board, just comedians in general, fucking, someone told me like 2 weeks ago that they were at the Cellar in New York and they saw Louis C.K. reading my book at a table. And I was like, well, that's, one of the better things I've ever heard. You know,
Yeah,
obviously
right.
Louis has a problematic situation, but he is one of the best comics ever. And on, you know, I have the utmost respect for him on stage. And it's crazy all the comics who have said they liked it. I don't know if Norm ever read it, but I know he owns some copies.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, and uh, obviously sadder to talk about that now.
Yeah.
But Norm Macdonald, not to spoil the book by any means, but Norm Macdonald has a pretty substantial cameo in it.
Yeah.
And my God, I would have thought that you consulted with Norm to write Norm. That's how good the writing, authentic it reads like Norm Macdonald.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, I'm really excited that I didn't blow it. That I was so scared about that, of not sounding like not actually being able to write in Norm's voice, but people have been very nice and said that it sounds like him. And I never fucking met the guy, but I don't know if there's a better comedian ever. I think he's the funniest person to ever do stand up.
I said when he passed away, Twitter is a nasty cesspool, of course, 99% of the time. When
For
he
sure.
passed away, obviously it was very sad, but I'm like, this is the best I've ever seen Twitter in my life, because everybody in the world, no matter why I followed them, was posting Norm Macdonald clips on Twitter.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, it's so sad, but this is the best day ever. I just watched 20 hours of Norm for over a week.
Oh yeah. Do you ever watch those clips on YouTube? The I'm not Norm guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that guy must have seen a fucking spike in his money. As soon as Norm died, that guy must have been just fucking. He probably like bought a new house off of everyone mourning Norm.
Probably.
Yeah.
It's because I subscribed to him afterwards, and
Oh yeah.
I just went down his channel and was just clicking on stuff.
Oh, he's the greatest, man. I don't know what he's up to, but his borderline scary obsession with Norm Macdonald has really been comforting to so many people.
Yeah. I hope he's somehow, I don't know, related or somehow connected to Norm, since
Dude,
he's presumably making money off of this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how monetization works on YouTube, but I think he's probably okay.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
So speaking of YouTube, I also got your special, Waiting for Death to Claim Us.
Yeah.
And I've now watched it twice, which,
oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's I watch a ton of comedy, and I rarely watch things more than once unless I'm going back for a specific joke. I watched that all the way through 2 times. It's really good.
Oh, that's a huge compliment. Thank you, Jeff. I don't ever watch comedy more than once, so that's really nice to hear.
Yeah, I very, very rarely do. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna go back and watch the joke about walking in on your wife. I'm gonna go back and watch that at least a dozen more times over the next few months. It had me. Here's the other thing, and you probably are similar. When I watch stand-up, I rarely laugh out loud.
Right.
I typically, when I'm watching at home by myself, I'll typically be nonverbal or maybe be like, that was funny.
Yeah.
I was laughing hysterically by myself on my couch watching that bit, both times.
That rules. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, I think that's the curse of liking stand-up so much, is eventually it just becomes like math, you know? Like you're like, oh yeah, that's the correct way to do that joke. Okay, yeah, I didn't see that coming. You know, you're not like hooting and hollering, but Shane Gillis's special made me laugh aloud. That was really funny.
Yes, his was awesome too.
Yeah.
And his is also on YouTube.
That's right. His is free, which I wish I could have put mine out for free, but I had a production company involved, so they wanted to make their money back.
Yeah, no. Well, yours is very well produced. I mean, you had it looked like 3 cameras traveling.
Yeah, 3 cameras for 14 different shows. We shot it over like a year. I think we started in September of 2019 and ended the day before quarantine was enacted, like March 14th of 2020. So yeah, and those are old high school friends of mine. Like I've known the director since we were in Montessori school, and I've known the cinematographer since like 3rd grade. The whole reason that special looks cool, which I really do think it looks like unique and kind of like arty, if you will, is because the cinematographer, he just always shot skateboarding videos. So it just looks, it has like a real, like, it feels like you're in the room. Yes. Also something I'm proud of that I didn't even think about, but the greatest of all time at riffing, Rory Scovel, he hit me up and he was like, I watched this and I got to tell you, it was really cool how you showed the audience even when they weren't laughing. Like, I guess a lot of specials only cut to the audience when they're losing it. And there's 2 or 3 times that we put in there where there's like a woman or a man who is visibly upset that they're at the show. And I'm happy that we did that on accident, because it just shows what it's like out there. There's part in that Minneapolis part in Sisyphus Brewing where there's a woman who's refuses to look at me, but also won't look into the camera. So she's just kind of like dead-eyed and vacant, looking straight ahead. And it's like, damn, we really captured what it's like out there.
Well, that was the beauty of it. It was twofold. You felt like you were in the club watching you perform.
Yeah.
And
well, thank you.
You also, it almost had the vibe of the book to an extent where we're also traveling with you. Yeah. We're seeing you go from venue to venue. You have the nice cuts of little bits in between that shows you, you know, sitting next to the Cincinnati Reds mascot. Yeah, just little things like that. You getting a tattoo.
Yeah.
It was
the
a nice
Cincinnati part, dude. Like the director was waiting for a cloud to clear in the sky. So I had to sit there and riff with that fucking mascot on that bench for like 40 minutes. And then of course we used 2 seconds. It's like, come on, man, quit directing so hard. Let's go get some cannolis.
And it was very interesting and obviously not intentional. And maybe it actually hurt you in, that it came up to where COVID shutdown started happening.
Yeah.
And I like you didn't put the date in there until it became part of the thing. You didn't put, October 2019.
Right.
I'm watching it, and in the beginning, I'm like, I wonder when he shot this, if this was pre-COVID or post-COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the way, and I don't know if this was your decision or not, but the way you did not, unless I missed it, you didn't put the date in there until COVID started affecting things.
Yeah, I mean, and that was a decision that Comedy Dynamics made. They were like, we're going to put the date in here to give this some kind of stakes and like a B plot. And I didn't really want to like milk that teat, but I mean, it ended up being smart because I think people like to know, for instance, that pinball bar, the one in Kansas City, that show was canceled that morning. Like the venue was canceled. So we had to scramble. And the only place available was this weird pinball bar in Kansas City, Kansas. And like, that is a fun thing to know, I think, for the viewer, that we didn't want to be in this room and it's not really conducive to comedy, but hey, we did it. And here's why.
Machines.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, and that was fucking so stupid. Like my director not realizing that we couldn't use any of those entities. I mean, God bless them. We were all scrambling, man. And also, after the shows, we were all having a couple cocktails. I was having cocktails on stage. So we did our best, man. Yeah, no, it came out excellent, and you're very funny. Thank you.
Which is obviously that's the main key. Now this is where I'm going to go inside baseball comedy nerd stuff that will lose my my parents and those kind of listeners. But
shout out to the Macolinos. You raised a good handsome boy.
The way that you hold the microphone, or I should say the microphone stand, I was fascinated by that because I've been trying to pay more attention. I hold as close to the top without being aggressively.
Like rap battle style.
Yeah, I hope, because I'm so conscientious of knowing exactly, not getting too close, because I'm a very loud person, but not getting too far. So I know you're holding way down here. So I guess that part of that's just experience and knowing where the mic's going to be and second nature. I think I know, like I have a relatively decent understanding of like how far the mic, like the proximity from the mic to my lips is, but I hold the mic stand in the air and like it dangles, a couple inches off the ground, because I used to have a tendency to lean into punchlines. So it was like kind of like, I think it was a hacky, like subconscious decision to, and here's the punchline. And I would lean in, and a couple of my friends called me out for it. So now I can't lean into it if it's in the air, right. Like if it's physically on the ground, I'm already hunched over because I'm 6'4". So like the mic stand's never really tall enough to get as close as I need it. So I would lean over, and then I just do this like real like fucking vaudeville, like, and here's the punchline. My friends were like, God, you don't need to do that. Like that's like an old fucking hacky Carney trick. And I was like, okay. So now I hold it up in the air to prevent myself from being the hack that I am. Oh, that's interesting. See, and I'm probably one of the only people who will ever bring that up.
No, that's a great point, Jeff. Yeah, no, I haven't been asked anything about that, man.
Yeah, well, Hopefully I'm the only one. Hopefully that's a unique observation.
Oh yeah.
The so jumping back, and I know a little more of your backstory than because I've kind of I went on a Sam Tallent binge, not even before I asked you when Stanhope started talking about you, and you went and stayed with Stanhope
Yeah.
in Bisbee, which
You'd fit in real well with that pint of whiskey at 2 p.m. Let me tell you.
part of me thinks I would just never come back. I'd just be like, yep, this is my home now.
Oh no, he would ask you to leave at some point. He's very good about setting boundaries.
Yeah. I do need my own Tracy though, because I'm getting low.
Oh dude, Tracy's such an angel. Everyone down there is just like, I mean, it seems like you're walking into some kind of freak show, but they're just people who are like liberated and have decided to not do anything they hate, and they all love each other, and it's a real family. I mean, everyone says it's a cult, but it's not a cult because Doug's not the leader. Doug's just another wheel in the cog of what's going on down there, you know. They just all happen to like work for Doug in a way. So, but they're all he wouldn't let them live on the compound if he didn't love them dearly.
Yeah, no, and one thing, I've mentioned this on my podcast before, but one thing I did, the reason I actually started to do stand up and started a podcast, year and a half ago, I started writing a dark comedy screenplay.
Oh, nice.
And I've written about 2 at this point that are like 70% done, but
Yeah.
I was writing it, and it was coming out way too dark and not enough comedy.
Sure.
So one of the first people, actually, I think the first person I reached out to was Doug Stanhope. I sent him an email, and I thought he's never going to reply. Less than 30 minutes later, I had a reply from Stanhope.
Oh my God.
And I'm sure the first part, I'm sure the whole thing was somewhat of a form email, but the first part he said, "Who do you think you are? You're Jeff fucking Macolino. You're not an ideas man." And he said, "But seriously, if you start, just finish it." He's like, "Nothing might happen with it, but if you finish it, it might sit in a drawer in a desk, and every time you open that drawer, you'll smile knowing that you finished it."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh man, I got to finish this shit."
For sure. Did you?
And that's and then I ended up reaching out to some other comedians, and the ones who responded all said, "If it's not funny enough, start doing stand up and start a podcast, because you'll have to find a way to be entertaining or funny, because otherwise it's survival instinct. If you can't make them laugh, you're gonna die."
Oh yeah, your ego will kick in, and it's fight or flight. Hopefully you survive, you know.
Yeah, my very first time, I'll tell you this, very first time I do an open mic, there are 15 comics who are coming in and out, they're not paying
And
attention.
where is this?
St. Pete Beach, place called Coconuts. Jim Brewer actually got his start there. And he went on Rogan's podcast, and the next time I went to do stand-up was that week, and the place was packed.
Whoa.
It was my second time going up on stage, and I'm like, oh man, I wasn't ready for this.
And that's a result of the Brewer bump?
Well, I think the Rogan bump.
Sure,
or it could have just been a coincidence, because
you don't call it the Brewer effect?
Yeah, packed being like 30, 40 people.
That's huge for an open mic.
Yeah. Audience members, yeah. But the first time I did it, 9 audience members, and 6 of them were my friends and family.
Oh, that's the worst, man.
And
every comic makes that mistake right away.
Yeah. Well, in my first joke, I had an easy setup, punchline, bam, I was going to hit it. Now, none of these 6 people are comedy club people either. So they're not really like, you give a courtesy laugh if something's kind of funny, just because you're there and you want to acknowledge it. Well, they're not going to laugh. So I give this punchline and crickets.
Oh,
and I'm like, God. Oh no, I was doing this for a layup because I just wanted to get the first laugh out of the way.
Yeah, you were setting the table, and then they fucking, that's brutal. Do you remember what the first joke was?
I do. It was
tell me the joke, Jeff.
I won't be able to do it. Well, I probably didn't do it that well then, but I was talking about how lazy I was.
Okay.
And that I was going to eat, and I had a sink full of dishes, and I had no clean forks. So I went on Amazon Prime, and I ordered same day delivery for a dozen stainless steel forks.
Okay.
So the joke being, And that was the punchline. The joke being that I'm so lazy, instead of washing a fork, I went on Amazon Prime.
Okay. All right, Jeff. Yeah.
Not a great joke, but
it's
was
okay.
Better.
It's your first time. I mean, there's a premise there, you know.
There's a premise
meat on the bone. You just need to know how to get it off.
Well, that was the problem. Is I mistook, and I think everyone probably goes through this. I mistook having some good premises and no punchlines for being a good set.
Sure.
And then you realize, wait, I've got a good premise, and even we'll get laughs at the premise, but then I've got nothing to follow.
Yeah, when the premise gets a bigger laugh than the punchline, oh, what a slow death that is.
Or when the premise is the punchline and you don't have it.
Yeah.
It's like, Jeff. Oh no.
And you did that thing where you brought your friends and family.
I just told them I was doing it. I didn't think they were going to show up.
Sure. But they love you and supported you. God damn them.
And I told them not pricks. To do that again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, dude.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, after doing stand-up for like, you know, as I've been doing it like 15 years or so, the only time I'm ever nervous at all is when I have friends and family there. You know, like I always want them to sit as far away from the stage as possible. I love performing for strangers, and I think that it's easier to learn in front of strangers because a stranger at an open mic your first time, you're not going to have to talk about how bad you did at work the next day. You know, they're not going to keep asking you at Thanksgiving, like, so are you still doing that? Because they saw you the worst you ever are is the first time you do stand up. Yeah. So yeah, if there's any new comics listening, don't bring the family out until you aren't wearing a fucking proverbial diaper.
Yeah, that's the key is don't tell them you're gonna try until you've done it and you're good at it. So they show up.
Oh yeah, tell them you're gonna do it your first time after you've done it 25 times. You know, that's a fun trick.
That would have been great.
Oh yeah, that's a real smooth. Hey, I'm gonna go try out this thing, and then it's like everyone at the mic's like, "Hey Jeff, how you doing?" And you're like, well, "I don't know what they're fucking talking about, but it's good to be here."
I just have a familiar face with someone who has the same name as me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, it's that was a mistake. I have a very supportive family, so no.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's good. So I do too. My mom and dad, you know, they were there at the beginning, and my dad came to Boston with me this weekend, and you know, came and watched me do some shows. So that was fun.
Yeah, the one thing I wanted to ask you, what does your and obviously the caveat being that not all comedy is based in actual fact, but I'm divorced, so I've always said sometimes there's an easy slam dunk on an ex-wife. It's nothing personal to her. It's just it could be an easy slam dunk. You're married.
Yeah.
What does your wife think of your comedy, especially when she's involved in it?
So yeah, like the beauty of my comedy is that I'm a huge liar, and like nothing that ever happens in my act has actually happened in real life. Like there's a bit, I think, in that special about Russell, which is my wife's brother. He isn't real. My wife doesn't have any brothers. So people will always come up to me and be like, what's Russell think of that bit? And it's like, well, he's not real. These are jokes. None of this is, you know, I'm sorry if that ruins the veneer for all of you. But my wife has asked, like one time she's from Detroit, and I did a Christmas show in Detroit. And all of her family was there. It was like 35 family members. And at the time I was closing with that pickle jar joke, the one that you liked, the wife masturbating joke. And she like stopped me, but right before I went on stage, and she's like, "Can you please not do that joke?" And I was like, "Don't worry, baby, I got it figured out." And I just changed it from wife to girlfriend. I had a girlfriend who used to do this, but then halfway through the bit, it just goes back to wife. So not only have I fucking made it worse, I've also made it confusing because I open with, I had a girlfriend I walked in on my wife masturbating. So yeah, no, she's cool. She never complains. She's a saint, and also she's fucking mean as hell about me off stage. You know, she's really gives me the business too, but she gets it. And you know, I know that bit in particular is the only time where she's been like, please don't do this. My coworkers are here. There was like 2 or 3 times where she asked me to change it, and I was like, they know I'm lying, and they're like, no, these people are stupid. And I'm like, what? No, they're your family.
Yeah, that's the and I did have, in all seriousness, I have "Is Russell real" written down.
Nice,
right,
man. Yeah,
I wanted to ask you that because I'm like, I'm guessing not. I hope not.
No, dude.
He sounds
like,
awful.
yeah, I'll write a joke and then I'll try and figure out how to fit it into, just like a running piece that I have. Just always trying to figure out how to tag longer stuff or set up shit so it flows a little bit better. And like that 40 minutes, I mean, I had an hour that I was originally going to put on that special. And then it ended up just being like, we sat and we edited it for like 3 months during quarantine. And all the stuff that I liked the most, all the stuff that the crew liked the most was not in my act. So that's why you have all those like riffs and bits of crowd work in there, because that's just funnier shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I did like that hour flowed. So it was like, set up Russell. Oh, he's a gay camp counselor. And then, he's like, I just made this like very nefarious man that I could make be the villain in, and I don't know. It was solid, but yeah, I'm a fucking liar, dude. Nothing has happened to me.
I have actually done a similar thing where I've created a friend, except for I actually named him after the name of one of my kind of outer circle friends.
Yeah.
No, but it's not him.
Right.
But I use him as the straw man of this awful douchebag. It's him.
Yeah. Straw man. That's exactly what it is. Hell yeah.
Yeah. So that's good to know that I'm not good at comedy yet, but at least I got some of the basics.
Oh yeah, the basics are pretty much just lie. Anything you can do to get a laugh, do it. Don't care if you hurt your loved ones. That's pretty much all I've just been saying so far. Those are my rules of comedy. It's very Machiavellian.
Be horrible.
Yeah, exactly. The ends justify the means. Think like Stalin up there.
The one thing I know you've been asked this. This is jumping back to Running the Light.
Yeah.
I know you've been asked about Billy Ray Shaver and who you visualized when you did it, and I know it wasn't really a specific person necessarily. And I think Stanhope brought up that this would make a great movie.
Yeah.
Had you ever? I mean, I don't know what the hell the process is to turn a book into a movie.
Yeah.
Have you thought about that or tried to go that route at all?
Yeah, man. So like I sold the option rights to these brothers who live in London, and they've made movies from novels. They were just nominated for an Australian Best Picture for The True History of the Kelly Gang, which is an adaptation of a novel that I loved. So when I found out that they did that book and turned it into a movie, I was like, cool. But now I'm in the process of, I really want to write the screenplay, but they want to get like a big name screenplay writer to write it, so it's easier to sell. Like if you have like, some name attached to it. And so that's, I mean, I don't know, dude. There's a great like who was it? Ken Kesey wrote One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and his rule when he published it was like, never turn this into a movie. But he didn't say that they couldn't turn it into a play. So they like wrote it as a play, and then that movie was like based off the play. So that's the loophole they got. So he notoriously hated the movie adaptation of Cuckoo's Nest. And someone asked him once, they were like, so have you seen the movie based on your book? And he's like, well, let me ask you this. If someone told you that a bunch of Hell's Angels were going to rape your daughter on your lawn, would you buy a ticket to that? So that's kind of like where I'm at with the movie, is like, look, if they fuck it up, I make some money. It's out of my hands. I can't be blamed for it. I wrote a great book and I'm very proud of it. And whatever happens to it now, hopefully it sells some more books, because I still own all the rights to the books, So everything I do is just like, hopefully more people buy the book. Hopefully more people read the book. And I'm fingers crossed the movie's good, but I don't know what it's going to look like, man.
Gotcha. Well, and that's
there was this. I'm sorry. I don't know if it's even a good story, if I can even tell the story, but early on in the adaptation process, like the first screenwriter they talked to was this like very famous writer of films in the UK. And his big idea was to have the personification of death, like the hooded, the Grim Reaper riding shotgun with Billy Ray Shaver. And when they told me that, I was in New Orleans, and I went up to the bar on the phone, and I was like, yeah, that's a fine, it's an idea. What are you going to do? Double bourbon. And just started drinking it like 2, because I was like, fuck, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, that's Hopefully they don't go that route.
Yeah, he's currently not attached anymore, but
Good.
yeah, man, I don't know.
I
I
mean,
mean, yeah, I hope we can. John C. Riley would be the one that if I could cast it, I would love for him to play Billy Ray Schaefer.
actually, I hadn't thought about that. That he would be great.
Or also looking at you, and I'm sure you've heard this a million times, but Danny McBride would also be very good.
Yes. By the way, the reason I have this is because my friends convinced me to be Kenny Powers for Halloween.
For Halloween, dude, I wasn't gonna bring it up early because I thought it was hacky, but yeah, you've got a fucking hardcore Kenny Powers thing going on.
I went to a Rays game.
Yeah.
And I didn't wear my hat because I it's kind of messy.
Oh my God, it's even crazier without the hat.
Yeah. No, it's and it's wet right now. When it's dry, it's pretty similar. And I have the Kenny Powers Myrtle Beach Mermen jersey that I have ready for Halloween. And I'm like, you know what? These are about the same colors as the Rays.
Yeah.
I'll just wear this because at least now I'm not spending $30 for one-time use of it.
I know.
People were taking pictures and videos of me all night. And the problem was they wanted me to be Kenny Powers.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, oh, hi. They're like, no, man, that's not Kenny Powers. I'm like, you're fucking out.
Yes.
I had no
dude,
voice at the end of the night.
You're gonna crush on Halloween. You're gonna get so much weird pussy for being Kenny Powers. That's gonna rock. Give me an update after Halloween. Let me know how the night goes for you.
Yeah, it'll probably end with me getting blackout drunk and Ubering home.
Yeah, it's okay. You know, it's still a victory.
Normal.
Yeah, it's Halloween.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one night where it's like acceptable.
Yeah, if you get home, that's a huge victory.
Yeah.
If you don't wake up outside or on a toilet, you've done your job.
Well, that's one thing. I haven't been able to craft the stand-up yet. I am as you can probably tell, as I've already refilled and had a backup cup with ice.
Yeah.
While we've been talking, I drink a lot. And I black out a lot. And when I first started blacking out, I used to wake up like I didn't know blacking out and passing out were different things at first. Like I thought I must have fallen asleep at the last place I remember, but then I always woke up in my bed. Yeah. And I never questioned how I got there.
Oh yeah.
Like how much of an asshole is it that it's like, oh, my friends must have just carried me upstairs and thrown me in my bed. Oh yeah, dude.
I've had 2 instances recently where I bought a cowboy hat for a wedding, and I've been wearing the cowboy hat I wore it to the wedding and I wore it to my wife's birthday party, and both times I've blacked out. And the first time I was not allowed to play blackjack in South Dakota because I was like fucking visibly way too drunk, and that wasn't that bad. But I guess at my wife's birthday party we had here at the house, and I fucking got tanked, and we had all these citrus fruits. And the last thing that I remember is my wife yelling at me because I'd thrown a bunch of grapefruits at passing cars and on the roof of our house. So I'm right there with you. I got to not wear the cowboy hat when there's a drink in my hand.
It's bad when you see a video of yourself and you're like, oh shit, I thought I must have been sleeping somewhere when this happened.
Oh yeah, like I have no memory of me being this person. And also it's great because like when I woke up after my wife's birthday, all of our friends and family stayed over, so I just woke up to a very eager bunch of people who were just very excited to tell me what a fucking ass I was the night before. So that was its own personal hell. To be hungover and also being shamed by your loved ones, good God, roll damn tide. That sucks.
The roll damn tide. By the way, at that open mic, my very first one where I just bombed for the first 2.5, 3 minutes, the first joke I got that landed was I was talking about my doctor and I was doing an act out and I said, went to the University of Florida, go Gators. And everyone laughed, because that's the thing down here is all the Gators fans, and most of them, mow my grass, but they're Gators fans, and they just constantly go Gators, go Gators. So that's kind of the same as. So I did laugh at that too. I'm like, that's how I got my first laugh, completely unscripted.
Oh yeah, attaboy. I wish that we had something cool. Like I don't have like a college football fandom here because we had the Broncos, and like. It's just very different in Colorado because no one gives a shit about the fucking CU Buffaloes and the CSU Rams. Who cares? No one gives a fuck. So I'm always envious of people who went to Auburn or Clemson or, fucking Alabama or, anywhere in the South, because that football heritage is so cool.
Yeah, that's until and I'm a Saints fan, but until the Bucks got Tom Brady,
Yeah.
no one around here gave a shit about the Bucks.
I mean, you had Mike Allstott. I grew up watching those Allstott work done backfields. That was a lot of fun, man.
Oh yeah, no, there was a bandwagon back then, but after the Super Bowl in 2002, they slowly drifted away, and there were no Bucks fans.
Yeah, is that what Trent Dilfer your quarterback?
Trent Dilfer was the quarterback in
for the
late
Super Bowl
90s.
team.
No, he was the quarterback for the Ravens Super Bowl.
Right, team. I know that's where he got his ring.
Brad Johnson was the quarterback.
Brad Johnson, what a fucking nameless stiff he was.
Yeah, and he went to FSU, so everyone liked him already because Florida, FSU, Miami, they're the ones who didn't graduate middle school.
Let me ask you this: you're from Florida. Have you ever heard this joke, which I've been doing? Gatorade obviously was invented down there. University of Florida, right? Was Gatorade? Right. You don't want to know what the Seminoles were drinking.
I have not heard this joke.
Okay, well, it didn't work with you, but seminal fluid.
Yes, semenade, seminal.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Anyway, you can have that, Jeff.
No, I had a rough response to one when I was mocking dentistry because I think dentistry is a scam. Okay. Not dentists.
Yeah.
But the whole the teeth cleaning and all.
Sure.
Anytime that you go someplace and they keep trying to sell you add-ons like, hey, here's this special mouthwash, or do you want this fluoride treatment on your teeth? Your insurance doesn't cover it, but it's only $20. That's a scam. But the dentist, for some reason, people kind of buy into it. But the fluoride, have you ever had the fluoride treatment where they put the shit on your gums? And I'm like, I'm bad thing to say on stage. Well, I don't know, maybe bad crowd to say it to. I'm like, have you ever had that? Yeah, it's like if you give someone a blowjob and instead of spitting or swallowing, you just let it cake onto your teeth for 3 hours.
Yeah, I mean, that's a rough thing to hear. That's a brutal image to deal with on your night out of town.
Yeah, that might work on Stanhope's crowd, but
oh yeah, no, I think it's a good joke. I just understand why there might be an aversion from people who hear it, but I'm with you. I think it's solid.
Yeah, well, I got squeamish when I said it, which probably didn't help.
Yeah, you got to sell that one, man.
Yeah. If you want to find out what it tastes like, I'm available in the bathroom after the show.
Nice tag. Yep.
I didn't tag that, but now I might now.
Oh yeah, that's the tag. You got it.
I'm gonna write that down.
You know where I love Florida, and I love Pensacola, and I love Key West. I fucking love Florida, man. I've had a lot of fun in Orlando. I mean, I've had fun all over Florida. Melbourne, Florida rules.
Yeah, Florida gets a bad rap, which most Floridians just kind of lean into, the whole Florida man thing. It's like I went on some kid's podcast in Utah, and I was a little drunk, and I was telling them stories, and they were just, their mouths were hanging open. I'm like, hey, I'm Florida man. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think I don't know. I have such an affinity for Florida, and because it's like, it just seems like an outlaw place. Like it's like the last refuge for people who are fleeing their lives anywhere else, and then they have kids, and those kids have kids. So it's just this like strange, it's a fucking freak pit, and I love it down there.
Yeah, no, it's a fun place to live. It's got such a, and I love my city, St. Petersburg. It's got a pretty nice nightlife downtown. It's on the water on two sides of the city.
That's great.
So we've got the beach on this side and the bay on this side. So boating is everywhere. Yeah. You've got the little nice rural neighborhoods, and you've got the beaches. It's like I've got everything. I live less than 2 miles from Tropicana Field, which looks like a shithole, but a Major League Baseball team plays there for now.
Oh hell yeah. But Jacksonville's so weird to me. Like the fact that Jacksonville has a football team, because I guess they were projected to be like one of the top 10 cities growth wise, and then that didn't happen. I know it's like one of the largest cities, like by like volume. I can't remember what it is, but just knowing that the Jacksonville Jaguars exist is always surprising to me.
Their city is humongous, like size wise,
sprawl wise, right?
Yeah, I think they're the biggest city technically in the state of Florida.
Ugh, that pisses me off, Jeff.
but Tampa's got St. Pete, which is like
Yeah,
Tampa's the third biggest and St. Pete's the fourth biggest. So
sure.
it's like, and they got Clearwater, which is the home of Scientology, and like the seventh biggest. So Tampa Bay area is a bigger hub, I think,
Okay.
than I'm guessing.
But due to some like weird zoning issue, Jacksonville's the biggest city in the state.
It's huge, and it is a weird city. I took
It
my son
sucks.
to a Jaguars game.
Yeah.
The Saints were playing up in Jacksonville. Teddy Bridgewater was the starting quarterback for that game, and
Hell yes.
it was like, we're in Jacksonville. It's like another hour till we get to the fucking hotel that's in the same city.
Yeah.
It's
Oh man.
weird. And then
Yeah.
the stadium was
I never had. I mean,
45 minutes
Miami.
away.
I always feel like I'm not allowed in Miami. Every time I perform there, I'm like, I'm sorry. I know that I'm not dressed correctly to be standing up here. So just watch the pig eat his shit for 45 minutes, and then you can all go back to whatever foam party or like sex rave you guys came from.
You know, I've talked to a lot of comedians, and I've heard a lot of comedians on other podcasts. I think Mark Norman said something about this on his podcast, that Miami's just not for every comedian.
No, it's just some of the most beautiful, well-dressed people you've ever seen. Like I've never seen people that are like, it's just every beautiful skin tone, every type of woman. It's just crazy. And I just, I'm wearing fucking shorts and a Carhartt long sleeve, just feeling bad about myself the whole time I'm on stage.
Yeah, see, that would play anywhere in Florida except for Miami.
That's why I love Pensacola. That's why I love Key West. Because
Yeah.
you can look like you woke up on a raft and you're sunburnt, and they're like, hey, all right, one of us.
Well, I typically wear black dress shoes, jeans, and just a black button up when I go up. And someone's like, you're really well dressed. I'm like, I think in most places this would be like bare minimum.
Yeah, if you're dressed like a valet, then you're doing the bare minimum for sure. Yeah.
But no, in Florida, it's like you're wearing jeans.
Yeah.
There's things that cover your whole leg.
Yeah, what are you doing, man? Put on some shorts.
Well, I was in my brother lives in North Florida, closer to Pensacola. He's in Gilchrist County. Nobody's ever heard of it. It's close to Gainesville.
Okay.
And I felt like a hippie because I was wearing flip-flops and shorts, and it's like a farming town.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone's wearing boots and jeans, and people are looking at me funny. I have long hair, and I'm like, I don't fit in here, do I?
Yeah.
That's the other thing about Florida. It's really diverse.
Yeah, don't you guys make the most cattle in the United States?
I think so.
Yeah.
It's North Florida and like Central Florida and South Florida are all like, they could be three different states. They're so different.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that whole like lower Alabama area is so bizarre. If I ever committed an atrocity, like if I ever like accidentally killed my wife and had to flee, you would find me in Pensacola Beach. So if I ever move to Pensacola Beach, just know that I'm guilty of whatever crime I'm accused of, and please don't tattle on me, listeners.
And I do call North Florida South Alabama, by the way.
Yeah, they call it LA. They're like, oh, I'm from LA, man. I'm from fucking Destin. I'm from lower Alabama. It's like, all right, dude, whatever you got to say.
It's a different type of person, but we're all Florida, man, no matter whether we're the Panhandle or the Keys.
I figured it out early how to fit in anywhere in like Alabama, Mississippi, or North Florida. Is just no matter what anyone says to you, you can always respond with, you ain't kidding. And it just works. It works no matter what. You could have terrible news, good news. You just say, you ain't kidding. And they're like, all right, this guy's with it. He's okay.
Yeah. Just change the tone.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Roll Damn Tide. Just
roll. Yeah.
Change the it works for anything.
Yeah.
Just need to know when to use it. I haven't brought up, but I want you to also just mention to the listener the Chubby Behemoth podcast.
Oh yeah, man. Chubby Behemoth. It's me and my best friend Nathan Lund. We've been doing it for a little over a year. We got like 50 episodes on the Patreon, one a week. Yeah, it's a hoot, man. I'm fucking loving it.
Yeah, that's fun. I didn't discover that until I think when you were in Bisbee was the first time that I actually was like, oh, he actually has his own podcast.
Yeah, I think that the second episode we ever did was actually at Stanhope's house. Maybe that was the second Patreon, but yeah, he was like, "You want to do a swapcast?" And I'm like, "Of course, you can be on my podcast that we've done 2 episodes of."
Yeah,
and it was a pretty good launching point.
I don't want Stanhope on my podcast. Why would I do
Oh yeah,
that?
yeah, no way. What are you talking about, you old queen? I love calling Stanhope an old queen. He loves it. So Stanhope, like, I was in Boston this weekend, and Stanhope called me. I'm opening for him like in October in Philadelphia, and everyone has this idea of him as like this, like, emotionless, like, id of a man, kind of like just a creature of comfort. But he is a human being, and he cares deeply for his friends. And like, my mom died a couple weeks ago, and Stanhope called me, and he was like, "Hey, you opening? Which date are you open for me in Philly?" And I was like, "The 19th." And he's like, "All right, cool. Hey, I heard your mom died a couple weeks ago." And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Are you over it yet?" So that was his way of saying he cared about me. "You over that shit?" "It's been 2 weeks. Who cares?" It's like, yeah, you're right, man.
I am sorry to hear that.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah.
But yeah, that's on brand with, I mean, I don't know that it's my favorite bit of his, but the most powerful stand-up bit of all time, I think, has to be him talking about his mother committing suicide.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
it's
that's
amazing.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's my favorite because it's not a real upper, but it's like, wow, he went like, wow.
He couldn't tell that bit for like 7 years. He had to say it was his friend's mom or something.
Yeah, well, that's the first time I heard it. He said that's the first joke I ever had to wait until the statute of limitations told before I could tell it on stage.
Well, yeah, and I don't think it's because of the assisted suicide. I think it's because he bought himself season tickets to the Cardinals, right?
Yeah,
like,
well,
with
he
card.
bought a bunch of shit. He maxed out her credit cards on stuff.
Yes.
And then I think in the special where he did that, he tied it back because he was ranting about the whole we are the 99%, that whole group back in the day. He's like, I did something, fuckers. You guys haven't done anything.
Yeah.
So
God, he's the man.
Yeah, he ties everything together so brilliantly. Is there so for my listeners, I'm going to tag everything, of course, in the show notes. Any last words as far as things you want to plug, anything at all like that?
Oh no, man, thanks for having me, Jeff. This was a blast. Yeah, samtallent.com, SAMTALLENT has all my tour dates, has my book. You can buy my book on there. Listen to my podcast, Chubby, Behemoth. And a new thing that I'm pretty fired up about is I'm doing this thing where if you pay like $8.99 a month, I'm sending out something I wrote that month. And now I'm also including something from other people because I got a publishing company called Too Big to Fail. So people have been sending me all types of cool stuff that maybe I'll publish, and I'm sending it out in the mail. You get, a story from me, and then you get a story that I liked and I think you should read. And I'm really fucking stoked on it, man. It's been fun. We've done 2 so far, and they go out the 18th of every month. So if you want to sign up for that, you can get that on samtallent.com as well.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Yeah. I didn't know about that. I'll look into that, and I'll link it.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Yeah. Well, Sam, thank you so much. Again, I felt like I had to ask you to come on because I've talked about your book so many times. I feel like it's only fair that they get to hear from you.
Oh, Jeff, it was a pleasure, man. Thank you so much for having me, and congratulations on all the cool things you're doing. That Kenny Powers shit's gonna rule, dude. I'm so excited for you.
I will make sure I have pictures taken, and I will send you the results of the evening.
Yeah, please do. And also, like, you got to get the voice down. You got to get like 4 things that he can say and just have those in the rotation.
Yeah, the only thing I got so far was you're fucking out. But but I got to get. You're right. I've got to study some game film.
Yeah, I think like does the Pope fuck little boys? That's a good one. If someone asks you a question, you can throw that one in there. Yeah, you gotta watch it and get that together, man, because that's gonna be fucking epic.
Yeah, I'm definitely going method. It's not gonna be me.
Oh, please do.
Be Kenny Powers.
Oh yeah, dude. Yes, and start on Thursday. Like, find every Halloween party you can go to and just wheeze the juice out of that lemon, because you only got this year, man. Yeah. You can't live your life as Kenny Powers. You can't have that hair
this
forever.
Shit is getting cut November 1st.
You are a father, all right, Jeff? You got to get rid of that fucking rat tail collection you have back there.
Amen.
Thank you, dude. I'm glad this was fun.
Yeah, man, thanks so much, Sam.
Of course, brother.